Eagles. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. Preparing you now for Week 15 in the NFL. Plenty to talk about in Eagle land yesterday. Back with a full show again today after some technical difficulties yesterday. Appreciate everybody being here. Johnny Mack, how you doing on this Wednesday morning?
Doing well. Getting ready for the big rainstorm. So for Eagles, I assume we'll be inside today, practice. But time marches on. The Pittsburgh Steelers coming up. So good opponent. Little bit of a keystone battle. A lot of Steelers fans. You know, these are two of the best traveling fan bases in the NFL. So, you know, one of the few times where the opponent probably can match the Eagles fans' passion. Steelers got a lot of passionate fans as well.
Yeah, it should be a good game, man, with the Steelers and the Eagles. 10-3 Steelers, 11-2 Philadelphia Eagles. The Battle of Pennsylvania. Johnny Mack and our viewers feel the need to pick on me this morning and give me a little PTSD and say no audio, no sound. You guys better be kidding with me. Giving me PTSD doing all that. Johnny Mack, what's on the agenda for the Birds today? I know you're going down there for practice. Jalen Hurts set to speak today. That's going to be an interesting one after some of the drama that has ensued the last couple of days.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts will speak today. It's typical Wednesday press conference. Like I said, most likely looking at the weather. The Eagles are going to be inside at the NovaCare Complex practicing. Nick Sirianni will talk before practice, so he'll get all the questions lobbed his way as well. And he spoke on WIP yesterday, so you probably already got a hint of what he's going to say about the whole situation. Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I got to be honest with you. I think in a lot of ways that it could help the team. And from that standpoint, I don't think the problem is any disconnect with any relationship. I think the problem is that the passing game stinks right now.
Yeah,
this is going to force them to address it instead of saying, well, we're winning games, so who cares? And I think this is going to force them to course correct. And I think a lot of ways it's actually going to help the Eagles. I really believe that.
Yeah, it definitely has the chance to. It doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but it certainly has the chance to galvanize a team and maybe, I
don't even know about galvanize. I'm not talking about anything emotional. I'm talking about this puts a highlight on just how bad this passing offense has been. And it's got to be fixed at all costs. No more hesitation. No more, but the Saquon's great and the defense is good. No more crutches. They got to fix it. Period. And that's a good thing.
We'll see if they end up doing that. That's not going to be. It's easier said than done, right, Johnny Mack? I mean, I don't know what the problems seem to be.
I think a lot of people misunderstand that the people like me are talking about turning into the number one passing offense. That's not what we're talking to. We're talking about. We're talking about turning into a competent passing offense. And there is no reason this can't be a competent passing offense with the talent on hand. Again, I'm not talking about number one. I'm talking about what we talked about in the spring about the defense. Forget about that leap from 31 to 1. That's not going to happen. Leap from the rest of the season, 31 to 15 or 16, somewhere in that range. You can't throw like if you would have gave me an over under last week going into the Carolina game, 118 passing yards, I would have laughed at you. I would have said, well, I'm taking the over. It can't be worse. Well, it got worse. And I'll say the same thing going into this week, over under 108. I'm taking the over. It can't be worse.
Good night. We better take the over.
I think. So part of it is just, common sense. Just get it right. Just get it going. And I think this will help in that direction. But the emotional stuff, I think that's overblown. They got to fix the passing offense. That's it.
Nothing emotional about it for Johnny Mac. Do you expect to talk to AJ Brown today or no?
No, he typically doesn't talk on Wednesdays. He's a Thursday or Friday guy, so I don't think that's going to change. The only thing that is going to be notable is if he talks at all. Last week he had that little stretch where he took a break, and we'll see if that happens. I think that would be the worst way to go because that will create more unneeded drama. I'm sure the PR staff will explain that to AJ. So hopefully,
Right.
he'll speak at some time this week. But if he doesn't, yeah, I think that's the worst. That's the worst way to handle it.
We'll see what ends up happening there. We have Mike Gill and BLG set to join us today on the show. I want to thank everybody for being here this morning. Got a good crowd in here already, and it's building rapidly. So hit that like button for us, everybody. We appreciate you joining the show today. A lot of fun yesterday talking to some of the people. We had issues on all shows yesterday, Johnny Mac. It was not
boy,
Birds
still
365.
So it was a StreamYard issue, right?
For us, it was. For Big Sills, it was not a StreamYard issue. He's having rolling blackouts in California. So he had to do a show from the Hummer on his phone for about 30 minutes before it overheated. And then we did it. I did a little Eagle roundtable yesterday and brought up some of our great viewers on the show. So it was a lot of fun.
You know, Sills has got to get out of the People's Republic of California.
I told him that, man. I said, "Get the hell out of there, silly. I don't know what you're doing." And he's like, "I got a litany of people who will take care of me down in South Florida." I'm like, "Get down there, man. What are you waiting on?" But anyway, I digress. So we'll have Mike Gill coming up in 10 minutes. Looking forward to talking to Mike Gill this morning and see what he has to think of all the drama in Eagle Land. John, early look here at the Steelers game. How do you see this? We're a little far out yet. We're not going to dive fully into the preview yet, but this is one of the best games. This is going to be a great game. One of the better games of the year for the Eagles and a tough opponent. You got to know Mike Tomlin, I'm sure, is, looking at some of the drama and saying, let's try and get these guys emotional early, get AJ Brown pissed, get Jalen Hurts pissed. How do you see this game coming up this weekend, week 15?
Yeah, it's a good opponent, good test. I mean, obviously from where, a couple weeks ago, very similar to Baltimore, but a little bit less talented. I would say, clearly the Eagles are the more talented team, but Pittsburgh is generally always overachieving. That's been the case again this year with Mike Tomlin. Never had a losing season, all that. Just a tremendous head coach, CEO coach. And he gets the same crap Nick Sirianni does. So don't act like Philadelphia is different. But, TJ Watt defensively, that's where it starts because that guy can wreck a game. Usually, the Eagles are better equipped to handle him than most, obviously, with Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. So that helps. Offensively, they're not explosive, and probably George Pickens isn't going to play.
That's a big hit for them.
Yeah, and he would be their explosive guy, and they're not that explosive anyway. So there's some limitations there. I think that helps. A lot of ways I look at Pittsburgh, and I don't get why they're 10-3 from a talent standpoint. So, like I said, a little bit of an overachieving team. But yeah, difficult opponent because they're so fundamentally sound and coached well, good organization. A lot like the Eagles from that perspective. But the Eagles, I think, just have more talent. If they start utilizing that talent correctly on the offensive side of the ball, I think everything will be fine. And we'll see if my take on the emotion and all that bull bleep is wrong, and they do let this affect them. But I don't see it from that perspective.
You don't see this at all as something that could put a wedge in the locker room at all?
No, I don't.
That's fair.
I talk about, and I'm glad Zach Berman talked about the same thing. I talked about it first, but
you did. You've been talking about that for years. I know.
I mean, the assumption that some fans have that all 70, 75 people in that locker room get along is always wrong. And I always go back to, I tell people to look at their personal life and look, do you like the next 75, 80 people you're going to meet? No, nobody does. Doesn't exist. So when stuff like this kind of happens, it's like, all right. I don't know about their personal relationship. They seem to get along fine. I'm sure they don't spend as much time together when they were both single and, um, had more time to spend together. And
Right.
now AJ's got kids, and I'm sure
Yeah, and you're
that
working together all day. It's a little different to hang out with somebody after you're working with them all day than if you
yeah.
weren't.
So people's relationships change, but yeah, I don't think they're angry at each other, or anything of that nature. But yeah, so I think it's completely overblown.
Now you said on the postgame show something that ultimately turned out to be right, which is great instant reaction by you on the AJ Brown comment. You said, boy, one word answer. That's not good. And the funniest part about it is, John, you didn't even hear it. I told you it on the postgame show. I said, AJ Brown just commented. He said passing as the one word answer. And you said, that's going to be an issue, a one word answer. So nice job by you. But you don't, when you think about, you don't have an issue with him saying that. You have an issue with what he's talking about, and that's the passing game. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have an issue with the actual passing game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people in Eagle fandom world, John, that are like, oh, they're mad at AJ and they're mad at BG for for bringing the inside business to the outside, which I understand. But a lot of people are leaving out that the reason these things were said in the first place is because of the issue on the field, which is the passing game.
Yeah, exactly. And from the standpoint of AJ, again, it wasn't that he said the passing game. Everybody said the passing game. Jordan Mailata said the passing game. DeMonte Smith said the pass. Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni yesterday, not up to our standard. Everybody agreed. Everybody knows it in the building. The fact that he only said one word, whereas if you take Jordan Mailata, who, I was talking to right before AJ talked, then it became, he said the same thing, but he just expounded on it. So everyone, hey, that makes sense, and moves on to the next guy. When you just say short and like AJ was and fragmented, then you allow people to speculate on your motive, other than, oh, well, he's just pointing out the obvious.
Right.
Because you don't need to improve anywhere else on offense. So what do you want him to say? It's obvious. You just came off the field and threw for 108 yards, 83 actually net, 83 yards. And people are trying to defend this passing game. Not a lot, but a lot of people, well, they're winning games.
Yeah,
well,
I was called a charlatan from somebody because I pointed out that we were bottom 5 in the league in passing, and they're like, he's a charlatan. We have the great passer rating, and we have this, and we
now they're 31st.
Extrapolated Hurts's stats, he would have his greatest numbers ever. And I'm like, well, it's not a perfect world. You can't just extrapolate the stats.
Well, that's the problem. You can't extrapolate the stats. That's the problem. The reason is passer rating and all that stuff. And we tried to get as much as we could from Kellen Moore yesterday.
It's because his attempts are way down. It's a lot easier to have a great passer rating when
and passer rating for. But by the way, that's the worst stat in the world. I used to have for a number of reasons. First of all, everybody who quotes it has no idea how it's even calculated. Nobody knows how it's calculated.
Right.
Secondly, they treat it like gospel, don't even know how it's calculated. Now, it's a complicated formula. You can Google it if you want to see the entire formula. But bottom line is, if you throw a lot of interceptions, you have a bad passer rating. If you have a low number of interceptions, you have a good passer rating. Then if you have a lot of touchdowns versus a low number of interceptions, you have a great passer rating. That's when you get, that's what Lamar Jackson's been doing this year. So it's a very old school, meaningless stat to begin with. But the whole point of the Eagles post-bye has been, it looks like they overemphasize taking care of the football. And at least from Kellen's not going to admit this. Nick's not going to admit it. And we did ask Kellen Moore the question yesterday. Basically, did you guys go too far and say, all right, we got to limit these turnovers at all costs? And as the quarterback now become hesitant because he's worried about turning the football over. I don't know if that's what's going on. It's a legitimate theory. I'll say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, passer rating. Yeah.
Is this the week to get it going with the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town? They got a couple good DBs. They got Minka Fitzpatrick back there. Joey Porter's been not having a great year for him. He's been getting a lot of pass interference penalties, but I think it's one of those games where if there's a game to rely on your physicality, it might be this one versus the Steelers, but they're probably going to need to pass the ball to beat the Steelers. How do you see it playing out this weekend with that?
Well, same with Baltimore. But, when you see Baltimore play Pittsburgh, it's the best rivalry in the NFL because they're both going to punch you in the mouth and they're both not going to back up. So to me, it's physicality versus nobody's going to have the edge there. But, defensively, this is not the team to take advantage of. This is one of the best defensive teams in football, in theory. But, they've been so bad in the passing game. You even say, like I said, they're coming off Carolina where it should have been easy. And you're going into Pittsburgh, and I'm at the stage where, well, it can't be worse. Even against the good defense. That's kind of where we are with the passing game over the past 2 weeks, the past 2 games. It literally can't be worse. Not literally, figuratively. So, yeah, but in theory, this is not the game you probably want to get off, but you have to.
You want to be forcing balls to AJ Brown to get him happy versus Steelers. Not
well, and that's the part I'm going to push back on all week. It's not about forcing the ball to AJ Brown. First of all, AJ Brown's the only one who gets the ball when they do throw it. Again, 4 targets, 4 receptions. He's already got it.
And Jalen Hurts is going into this game. He's looking for AJ Brown. He's lining him up and he's letting it rip, baby.
But I'm just pushing back against your statement. They're going to do it to keep AJ happy. No, they're going to do it because they have to fix the freaking passing game.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And they got to make Devontae happy as well. And, people shit on Howie, and rightfully so, for giving up a 3rd-round pick for Jahan Dotson. I don't know anything about Jahan Dotson.
I know. We can't blame Jahan Dotson for
No.
No.
A lot of people do. I can't. He doesn't get me. Are you kidding me? Nobody gets involved down roster. And by that, I mean the secondary receivers. So it's really, really tough to grade them. But yeah, I mean, AJ's at 836 receiving yards already, and he's missed 3 games. He's the only one who gets the ball.
We'll see what ends up happening this weekend. A lot to look forward to with this game with all the ensuing drama in Eagle Land, John. 9 wins, and you're talking about all this BS on a Tuesday. Now it's a Wednesday, but a Tuesday yesterday. Only in Philly, and you got to love it. I appreciate everybody being here. Hit that like button. DH Eagle, good to see you in here. Hit that like button. Callie Baby, Mike Fittery, Chan's in here, flexing and stepping. Jimmy Wem, what's up, Jimmy? SMD Eagles. Don't forget to hit that like button, everybody. We appreciate you all being here. We'll get to Mike Gill coming up next here on Birds 365. Before I get to the break, I do want to tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Check them out. I just put the promo code up on your screen. And if you're listening on the podcast, the promo code is YouTube150. Promo code gives you 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. And you even get 125% on your second and third deposits, all up to $2,000. So deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. They have the fastest payouts in the industry, 24/7 customer support, and they'll even give you your own custom account manager. So go check out BetUS. Use that promo code YouTube150. We'll be back in 3 minutes, everybody, on Birds 365.
Ignite your nights